Hi, it's Gina Page from African Ancestry. Sorry for the delay, but now we're here for our Wednesday Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us, everyone. As you know, it's Black Music Month, and so we're celebrating Black Music Month with some of our favorite African Ancestry family members who are also Grammy Award-winning artists. So today we're going to be talking with Will Calhoun. He is best known probably as the drummer for the group In Living Color. The group Living Color. And so we're really excited to have him. If you all followed African Ancestry Radio in October, you heard him breaking it down about the African influence on African American music. And he gave us all a much needed lesson. And we could have talked for hours, but we couldn't because it was the radio. And so we had to stop. But anyway, I convinced him to graciously join us today. And so I have Will with us. Hey, Will.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. You're live now.
Okay, now I'm live. Okay, well.
Yeah, we had.
It's good to be live and in living color. That's a beautiful thing.
Yes. So welcome to our African Ancestry Facebook Live. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Actually, I'm at Vernon's house actually right now. My fellow guitarist, Vernon Reed, we're rehearsing for a show, a trio show on Saturday night in Woodstock, New York. So other than that, I'm doing fine. The weather's lovely in New York. I have no complaints.
So you're going to be in Woodstock?
Yeah, it's a project called Zigzag Trio. It's myself, Vernon Reed, and Melvin Gibbs. And we are dealing with all kind of sides of Black music, eclectic music, avant-garde, harmonics, African, jazz, Pan-African, indigenous, electronic, dance, hip-hop, ambient. We kind of make one salad out of it. And because our names are Will, Melvin, and Vernon, it's all these up and down lines if you put our names in a row. So we call it the Zigzag Trio. So they can find it online. It's interesting, but it's a beautiful arena for all of us to express ourselves, probably in ways we couldn't do in our normal performance day jobs.
Well, so one of the questions I was going to ask you was, what does Black music mean to you? And you just kind of gave us a laundry list of everything that includes Black music, huh?
Yeah, well, it means it's life. It's a sense of expression, it's communication, and it's our life. Much of what I've researched in terms of my drumming and on the continent of Africa deals with vibration, and it deals with how we live, how we eat, how we worship, how we raise our families. Those things are all deal with our music. So I would say for me, it's Black music is life, it's existence.
And so you, as I told everyone, you're a member of the African Ancestry family. And I would love to have you share with our viewers, why you took the test, what motivated you to take the test, and then how that has impacted you.
Well, I wanted to take it because I've heard a lot of things about my family growing up. I was an avid kind of a cultural reader in terms of tribes and, researching things in South America, Central America. Being a fan of Sheikh Anta Diop and so many other amazing African and African-American historians. And a lot of dots are not connected for us in our daily life or in church or in school. My family's talked about it more on our so-called family gatherings. January 1st was the day my family always got together to discuss grandma and grandpa and great-grandma and whose name and et cetera. So as a youth, I was always interested in knowing the facts. And my mother's side of the family was very verbal, and my father's side of the family was very private. So I didn't get all the information. And when your company came into fruition and came on the scene, one of the things I wanted to really do was see if the information that I was told matched what I was going to learn from taking the DNA test. And it did, and it was shocking. And it changed my life only in the way that once you find out what your background is or who you're connected to and what you're connected to, the thing that's fantastic about your program and the information you receive is it doesn't only tell you where you're from, it tells you who you are and things that are involved in your makeup. And if I knew that when I was a child, maybe I'd be doing something else right now. But, growing up with that information and not knowing how to use it, you become quote unquote rebellious, or you become a problem child, or you become, abrasive. And I was just being myself. And African Ancestry reminded me with that information that I received who I am and what I am and why I'm the person that I am and why I'm a musician and what kind of things interest me, what kind of music interests me, what kind of people interest me. Once I was able to get the scientific evidence, then it all made sense.
So tell us what you found.
100% of my male DNA, I might have it backwards, you can double check, I'm being put on the spot now, is from Sierra Leone, and 97% is from Guinea-Bissau. And those are pretty high numbers. And all of my love for West Africa and playing with Sangari and Salif Keita and living in Mali for a while, all of the music that I grew up listening to and loving, ironically, comes from that region. The most interesting part about that discovery was I was visiting there often, 4 times a year for the last 10 years. And the elders, men and women, would always laugh at me when I would show up in a village. And they would say to me, you're not aware that you're home. They always would say that to me when I would first enter a village. And I thought they meant that as just being black, but they actually meant more than that. And the results proved it.
Wow. Ooh, that gave me chills. See, I wasn't ready for that. So Season has a question. She wants to know, when you got your AfricanAncestry.com results, were there any conclusions that you drew or connections that you made related to your musical gifts?
Absolutely. Guinea-Bissau and Sierra Leone were obviously divided, broken up parts of the Manding Empire. The Manding is all the Malian Empire. I was attracted to that country and that music first in Africa. A lot of the songs that I write are kind of around the key of E flat, and they're written mostly on the black keys. A lot of the black keys on the piano, meaning, and a lot of the music from that part of Africa are all kind of written in that same key. And I was doing this as a child, poking around on the piano all the way through college, even now writing songs with living color. I tend to gravitate towards those tones. And now I understand it's not that it's my favorite tone, but it's actually part of my ancestral tones. So yes, you get a revelation from that, but I never knew why I always liked writing in that mode. I just thought it was easy and fun. And then the results told me, your results and my research together, working with Sangari and working with musicians from the desert and Tuareg musicians, Tino Armin and guys like that, sitting around with desert musicians, blues cats, and letting them show me the music. I was able to connect the dots and realize, wow, I'm not just attracted to the sounds of this music. It actually is part of my makeup.
Thank you. Wow. Okay. Whew. All right. So you are best known to us as the drummer for the band Living Color.
Correct.
And that's a rock band in some sense. I know that you guys play a wide range of music, but you are considered to be a rock band. So, let's talk a little bit about the origins of rock and roll. We know that it's a popular music genre that started here, I think in the United States in the late 40s, early 50s, and it originated out of Black American music styles like gospel, blues, jazz, all of that. What can you say to us about that form of music and how you all translate that into your sound?
Well, rock and roll was created by Black people. We should just cut to the chase and be honest about that. It's a Black originated art form, as funk, reggae, hip hop, jazz. You can go down the list. So when people asked us why are we playing this music, we just found it quite rude and shocking. Now, the music was marketed a certain way because America at that time was marketed a certain kind of a way, and they wanted the music to be accessed to certain kinds of people. Radio was run by certain kinds of people, etc. So the politics got in the way with the truth. The reality of it is it's our music. So I love rock and roll the same way I love jazz or blues. So the four of us, and I met Vernon first. That was conversations. I mean, Vernon started the Black Rock Coalition along with some other friends, and your audience can look that information up. And you can see that coalition was built around the struggles of people not allowing Black attorneys or Black musicians or Black female musicians or musicians from whatever descent, Latino, Native American, Alaskan, what have you, to play rock and roll. If you go to maybe a 4th grade classroom and you ask children what do rock and roll musicians look like, they might tell you it's a blonde-haired guy with torn jeans and a patch over his eye. I don't know. That's not how we identify with the music. Chuck Berry's identification, Fats Domino. There's so many other people. Jimi Hendrix, obviously. Even the Isley Brothers and Parliament Funkadelic was rock. But commercially, those things sort of became homogenized into safer Black music, which is for the industry, R&B, more and kind of hip hop and gospel, because that seems to be a safer place to put it. We invented the music, and we intend on playing the music and passing that on to other people. We don't have anything against anyone playing it, and it's not like it's a club. But if we were standing on a soapbox in front of the New York Philharmonic telling those musicians, you guys are playing African music, they'd probably try to put us in jail. So, that's the reality of where things come from versus what they do. I love classical music too, and there are fantastic African composers, as they are, as we know, book writers and etc., authors and so on. But for us, it was just a matter of taking our Black experience, and rock's a big part of it, yes. But we have Caribbean blood in the band, we have African blood in the band, we have Southern blood in the band, and we take all of our experiences as children, growing up with Earth, Wind and Fire and Chaka Khan and Jimi Hendrix and Miles Davis and John Coltrane and Lou Donaldson and Sparrow, the Mighty Sparrow, and Bob Marley. All of these things, we are part of our childhood. When we went around our parents' homes when we were children, we heard Mahalia Jackson on Sunday, etc. So we wanted to incorporate our life experiences into our rock and roll definition, but it's not just really hard rock, and it shouldn't be. If you listen to Jimi Hendrix's music, it's still really wide. He had a song like "Up from the Skies" versus a song like "Purple Haze." Excuse me. So one of the things that is important with Living Color is you take a song like an album like "Time's Up," our second record, and one of the songs on that record is on my list of songs you're going to play. It's called "Solace of You." "Solace of You" is a high life West African song. I'm sorry I got to call it now. But
you jumped into the top 5. That's cool, though. It's about you.
I want to say that because that record starts out with a hardcore song called "Time's Up," which ironically was written about the environment in 1990. So it's a song about the environment, about the earth, about how things are coming apart with the earth. And it's a hardcore, heavy rock song. By the way, influenced by Washington, D.C.'s Bad Brains, which is one of our heroes, Shout
out to the district.
Shout out to the district and shout out to Bad Brains. But to be able to have the freedom to open up the record with a song like "Time's Up" and end the record with a high life West African song about peace and you being an individual is the A to Z of who we are as Black people, and also is an A to Z of what rock and roll really means. It's not just torn jeans and a patch over your eye and spitting water into the crowd or whatever you do when you're on stage. It has a wider definition.
Do you all do that?
No, we don't. I mean, we stayed in our younger days. We jumped into the audience. Corey still does. I did it times till I lost my clothes, but that's another story. But anyway, the idea is to, and it's not a vibe because we share our relationships with Anthrax. We share our relationships with Puro Ubu and with other, white metal and rock bands. Cats that understand the full vocabulary of what the music means. It's not an exclusively Black thing, but you can't talk about something without dealing with the invention. You can't say you like Mercedes-Benz, and if somebody says the cars are made in Germany, you say, no, it's not. That's not acceptable.
Right.
They're not French cars. They're German cars. So you have to be real and say it's a German machine. You can't say it's a machine that I like, but I don't like where it comes from. Lesson
here. I told you all he was going to be teaching us today. So one of our viewers is Rhonda Divine Diva Bowden. I hope I said that right, Rhonda. But she has a question about when you told your family members about your results, did they accept it? Some of her family members are not so interested in this quest to know, and it's been pretty disheartening to her.
I had the same experience she had, actually, so it's a great question. We have an interesting struggle being African-American, quote unquote, because a lot of our existence in this country has been to get along. So sometimes when you want to dig these kind of things up or bring these things into the conversation, it creates abrasive things. Sometimes the church and the voting and being a Democrat or being a Republican, in my opinion, you sell off a little bit of your individual rights when you do that kind of a thing. Not everyone, but some people. So when you start bringing this to family members and talking about what it means, some of your parents or grandparents might feel like, look, we worked really hard. We pay our taxes and we're in the system now. Don't disturb this groove. So you're going to have a little bit of that because of what happens with us, I think, as a culture that kind of wants to assimilate and not cause a problem. But everybody else caused problems, meaning they spoke out. Chinese do, Pakistanis, Indians, Koreans, go down the list. You know, when I go into a Korean neighborhood, it's Korean. When I go to Chinatown, it's Chinese banks, it's Chinese restaurants. The signs are in Chinese. You don't have to patronize them for them to survive. They already have their system existing almost in every city in the world. So, you know, that reality of us having to sort of acquiesce to get along is where we struggle still to this day. So I had the same experience. I just broke it down, and then after, ironically, you were in New York at one time, and you met my mom and my sister at this art gallery event. And after they saw you, and I mentioned who you were, then you heard my sister say, "Well, then just bring the results."
Yeah,
check it out. When I did it myself, nobody was trying to hear me. And then when you were actually there, and I mentioned to them, "Oh, this is the young lady that has it," then they were all like, "Yeah, well, bring it. Let's see what it says." And I read it. Exactly. I read it to everyone. I was all open, and it was Silence of the Lambs when I was trying to get an answer out of everybody. So, you know, it comes where it comes. But I see that I've always had that kind of personality. So they're thinking that I'm just coming with some really kind of pro-Black thing. And that's not really what African ancestry is about. In my opinion, it's about reality. And our situation in America is really unique from anyone else who lives here, in my opinion. What we know, how we arrive, etc. So the information is important. And it's just as important as anybody else wanting to know about their Italian roots or their Irish roots or their English roots or their Kiwi or Tonga or whatever native islands that they're from. It's no different. Our situation shouldn't be any different than anyone else's.
One of the things I like to say is that we call ourselves African American, and we know all about the American. We got the American part down. So why not learn about the African? What does that mean? You know, out of this huge continent, the best continent on the planet, where's our specificity, and how can we embrace that and understand ourselves better as a result of it? And you're a great example of finding out specifically that your ancestry is found with the Mende people in Sierra Leone and the Balanta people, which is, you didn't say, but it's those who resist. So I think, people ought to know that about you and your form of music. And how that, you know, how you've embodied that. So I also want to say that Rhonda says she's a band head, so she's going to purchase your record. Wow. And you have a number of records out right now, Rhonda, that you can purchase. But Living Color, you guys are celebrating an anniversary, right?
Well, actually, yeah. I mean, it's almost 30 years, but the new record drops September 8th. It's called Shade. And Rhonda or anyone can go to the Billboard.com website. The single's already out. It's kind of been released, and you'll get a little preview of it. So go to the Billboard.com site and you'll see that, or you can go to livingcolor.com and get the information from there as well. And it's the English spelling, COLOUR, Living Color. And then you'll see the new song. But you know, the record is talking about the times now and what's happening in our economy, what's happening to us as people, what's happening with the media control, what's happening in our administration. So the songs kind of deal with those issues, and it's the blues. It's a blues-based record. We covered a Robert Johnson song, who's the king of the blues, in my opinion. We covered a Biggie Smalls song called Who Shot Ya, because you do see what's going on with the police. And
that online, right? That's
online too. Yes. And we covered Marvin Gaye's Inner City Blues. All three of those artists and all three of their messages really relate to what's happening still in America now, North America mostly, but in all of America. And we wanted to bring attention to those issues and those great artists and their artistry, because it encompasses Black music.
Right. And you guys take this all over the world, right? Aren't you getting ready for a European leg of a tour?
We just left Australia, New Zealand, Hawaii. And we'll be heading off in the fall to Europe, mainland Europe, a little bit of eastern part of Europe, and then South America will either be at the end of the year or going into next year. So yes, the idea is that we keep the message universal, because it is a universal message. I think art is the last universal message where people can communicate and not look the same or speak the same language or even be the same gender or what have you. I think, the music and the visual artists and the writers and the poets, we have a really heavy, I think, experience and important value to the globe right now. If you look at what's happening around the world, and we can communicate, I think, more directly with people without having to beat people over the head or threaten anyone or ask for ID. We can just literally just put the information out there. And I think we have a very important responsibility now to address things that we're losing.
Well, thank you for doing that with your music. And you also have a solo project, right?
Yes. I'm a jazz maniac. It's my first love for music. And Elvin Jones, for those who don't know, is a tremendous drummer who passed away a few years ago, played drums mostly with John Coltrane. But Elvin was one of my drum heroes since I was about 5 years old. And I wanted to do a tribute record to Elvin and his contributions and what he's given to the world of music at large. So I released a recording called Celebrating Elvin Jones. It's on Motema Records. You can pick it up. And I hired all of Elvin's alumni, cats that played with Elvin over the years. So I was able to not only record the record, but I was getting stories and jokes and stories about the tour from guys who were on the road with Elvin for 3, 4, 5 years. So for me, it was great. And it's a record I wanted to do for, 15 years or so. And I'm glad it's out now. And his drumming is a huge part of my life and my influence. So yeah, that's called Celebrating Elvin Jones.
Nice. So you all can go to willcalhoun.com and get that. All right. So your top 5. For Black Music Month, we are celebrating music every single day. And I asked you in advance for your top 5 picks for Black Music Month. So what's number 1?
Number 1 is Bob Marley, Zimbabwe.
Okay, Bob Marley, Zimbabwe. So I'm going to see if we can be technological here. I don't know if people can hear this in the background. But anyway, you can hear it? Okay, well, you can hear it, and I can hear it. Tell us why. Why this one?
Well, Bob, outside of Bob being a genius and being, in many ways, a prophet, he's singing about Zimbabwe becoming independent. Africa as a continent, his countries were independent at different times. Some of it was according to political, how can I put it, political agreements. But Bob was singing about, Zimbabwe being free. And I think whether you go the process that country went, or you go the process of the Mau Mau, or whatever process that you choose, there's something for us to learn about independence and having your country and having your politics and having your natural resources remain under your hands. That's not the case in most parts of Africa, but the idea is being free like any other country, and why not? So I love the vibe of what Bob is saying. It was a very important time then, and it still is now. And I think we can learn from both the lyrics and the song and the experience of what happened in Zimbabwe at that time.
Okay, cool. So number 1 is Bob Marley's Zimbabwe. What about number 2?
Tracy Chapman's Talking About a Revolution.
All right. Tracy Chapman's Talking About a Revolution. So tell us why that one.
Why not? If you listen to what Tracy's saying, that song deals with America on a whole, but also deals a lot with Black America and struggle and change and what it's going to take and what has to happen. I mean, we cannot live under these kind of conditions and these kind of threats and this kind of terrorism. And we have to be able to come to a place where we could be who we are. And I love Tracy. I love all of her music and all of her records. And actually, Living Color used to cover this song before we got our record deal in Sony back 1,000 years ago. We used to play her when she came out with that song. It hit us really hard in the heart. So our first show in Boston is where she's from. We performed that live, and it became a live radio broadcast on WBCN in Boston. So Tracy's one of the soldiers. She's our sister. We relate to her music and her ideas and her thoughts, and we acquiesce and want to continue doing what we're doing in tandem with what she's doing. So I love her voice. I love her lyrics. I love her honesty and sincerity in her music.
Okay, cool. So number 2 is Tracy Chapman's Talking About a Revolution. What about number 3?
Number 3 is Nona Hendryx, Winds of Change.
Nona Hendryx, Winds of Change. Okay. So tell me why, and don't say why not, because you could say that for all of them.
Well, you know, I love Nona as well. I work with her, but that song is kind of a timepiece because it was written about Nelson Mandela when he was in prison. But lyrically, if you hear what she's talking about, the change and how, you know, we've cried for that situation. We've cried for South Africa, and not in a way where we could be directly helpful with South Africa, but in a way that we can help South Africa and give some information and support to what was happening at that time in South Africa. So it's a very powerful song, Winds of Change. And once again, lyrically, you know, it still relates. Nelson is not with us anymore, and it still relates to our situation, to how we're surviving now as folks. Some, you know, food for thought.
Okay. Nice. Okay, so that was Nona Hendryx, Winds of Change. Number 4.
Stevie Wonder's Pastime Paradise.
Stevie Wonder. Everybody knows this one. I don't even have to play this one. So tell us how Stevie made the list.
Well, Stevie makes every list of mine, but Stevie just has, you know, as we know, he has this psychic brilliance outside of his super genius talent into really focusing on and into discussing really pertinent issues that are important to us in a very honest way. And just think about what he's saying about how we're spending our lives, what we're doing, because we don't have any hope or we don't have any invested plan, we're holding on to things that are going to just bring us down. You know, those things. Some of those things are over. We can learn from them, but we shouldn't cling to them. We should just use those things as information for us to move forward and put us in a better place. And it's a gorgeous song. I like that he has this kind of classical, almost Bach or Beethoven-ish kind of piano thing in there to make it, because he's saying some classic things. So the fact that he has this almost kind of harpsichordal sound along with what he's singing, his lovely tones, it puts it in a really special place, which, as you know, the song was covered by, you know, different hip hop artists. But, you know, Stevie's, it's a revelation, it's a truth, and it's a song that's timeless. And as long as we can focus on some of those things Stevie's talking about in that song, we'll be fine.
All right. So we had number 1 was Bob Marley, Zimbabwe. Number 2 was Tracy Chapman, talking about a revolution. Nona Hendryx was number 3 with Winds of Change. And then number 4 is Stevie Wonder's Pastime Paradise. So if you were listening a few minutes earlier, then you know what number 5 you know what number 5 is. But tell us again what number 5 is.
Number 5 is Living Colors, Solace of You.
Yes. And so how did that pick make the list? Because you guys have a lot of songs.
We do. And it's funny because that song was something that Vernon and Corey were kind of, you know, we were always noodling. And Vernon was just playing more of an acoustic guitar kind of thing. And it was really folk. It was very high life, very West African. And Corey started putting these lyrics together about, I have the solace of you. You know, how you can do all of these things to people. You know, you can hurt our bodies, but you can't hurt our souls. We'll still be free. People can see the lyrics and they'll see what that means. And Solace of You is a strong lyrical message about perseverance of your soul. And if you have your soul intact and it's really in the right place and you're doing the right thing, you know, you'll be able to persevere. People are going to try to damage those things around you, but you can't let them damage yourself, your spirit. And that's what the song really deals with. And we wanted to close the album with Solace of You in that recording. So it's a really special song. It's different from everything else Living Color has recorded, but it's one of my favorites.
Nice. Well, thank you for sharing your top 5 jams. I learned something about you today, which is, I guess I should go back here. I learned something about you today, which is you are definitely a creative revolutionary. And that is seen through all of your picks on your top 5. So thank you for playing along with us. Sunday is Father's Day.
Yes.
And we're celebrating Father's Day with a special discount. So anybody who wants to purchase a Patriclan test to trace a father's line, father to father to father to father, can do so for a discount. The kits are only $275. And so we're excited about that. And I want to wish you early Father's Day in advance. I know you're a proud dad. And so we hope that you get some time to rest and spend the day with the people who love you. And thank you again for joining us on Facebook Live. This is the first time we've done a split screen, so I appreciate your patience. It all worked out because we got two smart Africans, as you would say, on the screen. And I want to just encourage all of you all to check out willcalhoun.com. Not only is he an African ancestry family member and cousin to some of you all, if you are Mende or Balanta, he's your people, but also because he's an amazing creative revolutionary. So you can get his CD celebrating Alvin Jones. You can get the Living Color CD when it comes out in September. If you're watching and you're in Europe, check their website because they're going to be there in September and October, I think you said. Hopefully you'll come here to the U.S. next year, or not come here because you all live here, but y'all know what I mean. And then you're going to be in D.C. in September, right?
D.C. with the Elvin Jones. Thanks for bringing that up. That's very nice, very kind of you. Yes, September 22nd and 23rd, I'm at Blues Alley with my Elvin Jones project. So, come on down. It is jazz, but I like to mix it up. There's going to be some African and some indigenous stuff going on in there as well, too. But, I love coming to D.C. Love the go-go vibe. Lots of friends from there. And
he said go-go. You know what might start happening when you say go-go. Let me be still. Go ahead. Sorry.
I got to drop a little hello to my man, Juju House. Juju's my man. And, great musicians there, great vibe. And, of course, I have family in D.C. and Virginia as well. There's a lot of Calhoun in that area.
We're going to make sure that we can get as many of your African ancestry family members in Blues Alley over those 2 nights to support you, because that's what we do. We're FUBU over here. So we're going to try and pack the house for you. Thank you again, Will. I know that you guys are rehearsing, so I appreciate you taking this time. And we look forward to seeing you in September.
I look forward. Thank you for having the interview and for having that company. I think it's important for the world, and it's certainly important for us folks to get the information and to have the access to it and the opportunity to. So you're really helping a lot of people, quite a few people out, and a lot of families to reconnect. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. See you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.